Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Challenges in the Streets here from the Public Safety Training Academy studio. Today we have an episode titled FROMS Update and some frequently asked questions with our staff from FROMS. So we're going to go ahead and introduce our panel, and we'll go ahead and get started. It's a 60-minute episode. So if you guys do have questions, it's very important to try to answer some of the most frequently asked questions that the folks from FROMS get. But if there's something that you want to know, please feel free to ask by putting it in the chat, and we will try to get to it as soon as we can and fit it into our conversation. So to my left, starting off, is Battalion Chief Rob Furst, our FROMS Battalion Chief. Across the table, on the other side, we have Dr. Spears, our FROMS doctor. And across from him, Captain Gary Cummings, captain assigned to FROMS, who deals with most of our work-related injuries, and Captain Phillips is in the empty chair beside me. He should be here at some point during the episode, and we will work him in when he arrives. So without any further ado, Chief Furst, you want to go ahead and take the lead off? And
Yes, sir.
What you got?
I asked to do this episode because I'm in my 25th year here at Montgomery County Fire Rescue. I have been in the shop of FROMS for some injuries. I've been to FROMS for physicals several times, but I did not realize what all happens at FROMS until I got there, and it was amazing. The amount of work that these folks do, from Gary and Mike to our partners at Concentra. So I wanted to get this episode together, and hopefully we get some good questions from the people in the field. We're going to try to give them like a 40,000-foot overview of what happens. And then we'd like to get some questions so we can answer people's questions. So what I would like to lead off with is two statements. First off, that FROMS is not your primary care provider. And FROMS is not only for career folks. And I do ask if Gary can fill in the rest for FROMS is not your primary care provider, because Gary, as we know, has been there for 5.5 years.
Yeah.
Right? So there isn't a thing about FROMS for treating our injured folks that Gary does not know.
So, the first thing about FROMS not being your primary care provider, it's important you have one. We do run into the problem of, we're young, people are like, I'm healthy, I don't need a primary care provider. And at some point, life happens, and you end up at FROMS on your physical, and you get some blood work done or have a test, and Dr. Spears finds something and says, hey, I need you to follow up with your primary care provider on this to get some information for it, and you don't have one. And then all of a sudden, you could be waiting literally 3 or 4 months to get in on an initial visit with a primary care provider. So that causes a problem, especially if it's the type of issue that is deemed as you can't be full duty while it's going on. Now, with that being said, FROMS is not in the business of trying to take people off the floor. Dr. Spears wants you working. The county wants you working. We all know there's a huge overtime budget that goes on in the county. So if we can have you safely do your job, we want you on the floor. So the benefit of having a primary care provider, if you got to look at it, we've all known the cancer and the occupational injuries and the problems we've had. So your primary care provider can monitor your overall health, and then FROMS looks at your health in the context of NFPA 1582, which is kind of like our Bible for guidelines in how you will be able at working as a firefighter. Okay, so one thing that would be a good strategy to have, you get your yearly physical at FROMS, hopefully get on schedule with that, and then you have a yearly schedule with your primary care provider. You're getting surveillance on you twice a year, blood work, other examinations, everything like that. So,
And if I may,
yes,
FROMS cannot prescribe you medications that you must go on for greater than 30 days. Right. So you can't go in there and find out you have high blood pressure and Dr. Spears say, no problem. Here's a prescription for an ACE inhibitor and go about your day. Right. They have to come from your primary care provider.
Right. We do not treat long-term illnesses. If you need something temporarily, yes, we can do that, but we are not your long-term primary care doctor. If you need to go on diabetes medication, if you need to go on medications for high blood pressure for extended period of time, you need to see your primary care doctor so they can establish care with you and follow up with you. And that's who you want to be your main point of contact.
Yeah, so I apologize. Probably should have done this sooner, but a lot of people know Dr. Spears, obviously. But do you want to give your quick background, Dr. Spears, while we're at this point before we get too far? Just like how you got here and.
I'll do a quick and dirty bio. I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, in case you guys can hear my New Orleans drawl. It comes up sometimes and I say y'all and crawfish, but sometimes I can pick it up and put it back down. So I started off in accounting. I actually worked for Home Depot in corporate accounting, and it was very, very boring. As I've noticed a lot of the volunteers actually have jobs that are really boring, and they come in and they're like, this job sucks. It's really boring. I want to do something more exciting. And so I started doing volunteer work and working with Atlanta Fire at night. So I took my EMT courses. I worked with Atlanta and Georgia Fire for maybe like 6 months. And I really liked being an EMT. And I was qualifying for my EMTI, which I don't even think they do EMTIs anymore. It used to be EMT Basic, EMTI, and EMT Paramedic. Well, at least they did that in Atlanta and down south. But I was qualifying for my EMT paramedic licenses, and I always hung out at the ER, and one of the ER doctors was like, you want to put in this chest tube? I'm like, yeah. You want to intubate this guy? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you're always here. Why do? Because, you call, we call. You call 911, you never see what happens to the person. Somebody's like, man, I wonder what happened. Be like, you always want to know what happened. Why don't you just stay here? I'm like, because I'm like 30 years old. It kind of I have to start back over. I had to take the courses. Who wants to see like a 34-year-old in medical school class with a bunch of 20-year-olds? That is so sad. And I'll never forget this guy was like, you know what's sadder than that? A 60-year-old who wished he'd have took his ass back to medical school. And he was 30.
Right.
So the time is going to pass. So take your ass back to school. I'll write you a letter. He wrote my letter. I ended up applying to a bunch of medical schools. I got into one medical school in Detroit, which is why I always wear if you see me, you'll see me with my hoodie that Gary always talks about. Wayne State University, University of Detroit School of Medicine. We are the largest medical school in the United States. Average medical school class is 65 to 70 students. Wayne State is 340 students a year.
Wow.
They figure if we can put out a Ford, we can put out a doctor. So they would run us through, and I went to Detroit for medical school, Chicago for residency, and worked in D.C. at Providence. I know a couple of you guys used to drop off patients to me when I was in the ED at Providence. And
Wow.
Especially Russell, who was one of our volunteer chiefs, was like, that's where I know you from. I used to bring you people. So now I'm kind of on the other side of it. And yeah, I'm like an Ahmed side. But I do have a lot of experience in ER and EMS. So I can give you guys pointers and stuff on each side. Give me a good perspective. So
Awesome.
I know fire, I know EMS, and now I'm learning Ahmed.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't realize the fire rescue parallel there. How you got into, as an EMTI. I did not realize that.
It came back full circle.
An ambulance 702 used to haul you a couple patients back in
does.
the day. back when they were still open. So we delivered you a couple. I just didn't realize it.
How about 129?
I have so many people that are like,
919.
you were the guy. Like, that's where I know you from. You used to yell at me for bringing you people like this. That was,
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the background. So people get to talk to you at FROMS, but I think a lot of people probably don't realize, including myself, in full background.
Right.
So.
And the thing that's really nice about Dr. Spears is he's culturally competent. So when people come in to see him and you start talking about things, he will put you at ease. I guarantee you that you're going to have a good customer service experience with Dr. Spears. So, and it's been really nice that he brings that experience from his background,
Absolutely.
And understands where we're at and what we want to do in our careers.
Yeah.
So.
and I also know from the fire side, if you do have an injury, everybody's first response is, don't say anything. The doctors are going to put you off. Don't go to FROMS. Suck it up. Don't let anybody know you're hurt because, they're going to tell you not to work. Our goal is not to help you or not to stop you from working. Our goal is to make sure you have a long career and you are healthy. Because as we were taught in medical school, and I did ER residency, and the first thing they used to teach us is during the code blue, the first thing you do is take a pulse. And it should not be the patient's, it should be your own. Because if you don't know what you're doing and you are unwell, their doctors don't save anybody. So their medics, their firefighters do not help anybody. So get yourself taken care of first, and then that's our goal, to help you help yourself.
Awesome.
So just
Swinging back to the physicals that we were talking about, not having a primary care doctor, that after 90 days, the physical you took expires. So you have a couple options. One is get the paperwork in and then do your whole physical again. And the other one is that you are not rated for duty. So that is the last thing that we want to do at FROMS, is to make you not rated for duty, not fit for duty. But if you cannot provide the information that the doctors are looking for to rate you fit for duty, then that's where we are.
And that's if you
And
require additional
that's,
information.
Yeah, so
basically.
that's
Okay.
if you get issued a MIR, a medical information request form, then you need to fulfill that information in 90 days.
Yeah, because we have several members that have the orthopedic surgeons, like, oh, I have this injury, or I have an abnormal heartbeat, or a lot of the guys, they do have a primary care doc. They have their own cardiologist, and I get my EKG, I get my stress test done at my cardiologist. We have guys that work for different. I work for Howard County, and I had the same test done. Can I just send you the results of my stress test from Howard County or from Arlington or Fairfax? If they do all your blood work, and, like, I have that, okay. You don't necessarily have to have it done with us if you've had it done already, or by your primary cardiologist. Like, I had a stress test with my cardiologist a month ago. Okay, bring it into us, but we need that paperwork. So if you tell us you're going to bring it, we need it within 90 days to clear you.
And it has to be the correct Mets.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you talk about when someone comes in for a physical and they might get sent out at somebody else to do certain tests?
We just had a gentleman today who was a corrections officer. He came in for his annual physical. He had a very abnormal EKG. He was asymptomatic. His blood pressure was kind of high. He hadn't seen his doc in maybe about 2 years. He used to be on medication. He's like, I just kind of stopped it. I felt like I was feeling fine. Like, well, your EKG looks a little bit abnormal, not enough to call 911 or send you to the hospital, but you need to get back on your medications. You need to see your doctor, and you definitely need to have him restart your medications and clear you. And we give you a list of things. Go see your doctor, have him fill out this paperwork, and have him say that you are either had your stress test with him or you are clear to go back to work. So those are the things we need. So I gave him information. He went to go take it to see his primary care doctor and cardiologist. And some things we find while you're there. And if we do find something, we're going to give you some instructions. We're not just going to leave you hanging, but we will need you to complete all of the paperwork and all of the testing that we have questions about.
Now, one thing with people that come in for their physicals, we've had some guys give up information that, hey, I've had these symptoms for 6 or 8 months, and now it's turning into something more serious. So the one general rule we ask you guys to follow is that if you're 14 days of feeling off, go see your primary care physician, get seen, get taken care of it early. With our initiatives with cancer, we're doing really well with catching things early. And the great thing is that we've had guys recently that stuff has been found. They're off for 1 to 3 months getting treated. They get back to full duty because it's not stage 3 or stage 4. And the same thing with any other type of health issues. If you're starting to have a cardiac issue or you're starting to having breathing issues, go be seen early. If you're 14 days not feeling regular, you feel off, go make an appointment and get seen.
Yeah, especially if we catch things, as your doctors will tell you, if you catch things early, a lot of these things can be treated with minimal time off and minimal effect to your life. But the longer I know it's a lot of guys and gals that are used to, as Captain Cummings is always saying, sucking it up and rolling with it. That's just the field. My knee, I hurt my knee, I'm fine. I hurt my back, I take some Motrin and just keep sucking it up until my day off. I got time off, I got vacation time coming up. But you have to be able to do this job for a long period of time. This is a labor-intensive job, a stressful job, so you really need to be able to make sure you're taking care of your health. So don't ignore it, get it addressed, and if we need to help you out, we can help you out.
Awesome. You guys got anything else on the leadoff? We're going to move on to kind of like the three-headed dragon, as you call it, of what FROMS really involves.
Yeah, so there are, I like to call FROMS a three-headed dragon. There is the medically influenced duty status, which is what Gary mostly does. And that takes up a lion's share of our effort. So I have done Gary's job, not to his satisfaction, but I've subbed in for him. So for example, I was there for like a week, and then he left for Ireland, and I was just standing there. I was like, I don't know what to do. So the way I can best describe what it's like to do Gary's job as opposed to being the FROMS battalion chief is that it's like leaving the command post and getting a set of irons and forcing a door, like a tough door to get through. And then when you force that door and get through, guess what? There's another door to force, right? And then another door, and then another door. It is a lot of tedious work that Captain Cummings does and that Captain Phillips helps out with. But most of our time is dealing with follow-up appointments, initial evaluations, return to work appointments for folks that are injured and in the medically influenced duty status area. Then the other head is the career physicals, which runs pretty smoothly. Jeff Staley is doing the scheduling right now, which is a great help to us. We finally got our arms around the real list of people who have not finished off their physicals or have not been in for their physicals. That took the first few months of my time there to find the information and then get it to a workable space. And we're working on that. I'll get to that in a little bit. So we have the career physicals. They run pretty well. Those are the people who sometimes get medical information requests, and then I have to follow up with them to ensure that they have received their medical information request and understand it and are working on it so we can get them in before their physical expires. Volunteer physicals is run by the DOVS. There is a man named Satchel Kornfeld who's running it. He is doing an excellent job. The volunteer physicals are scheduled like 3 months out and completely filled. And then if somebody drops off, he has like a waiting list of folks to go in. Most of the volunteer physicals are pre-placement. And then the other ones are, for incumbent members. So that is a three-headed dragon. Peer support is off on the side because we have Captain Phillips with us half the time in FROMS and the other half the time in peer support. But because he's embedded with us, we help out as much as we can with peer support, especially with evaluations, follow-ups of our members. We treat a peer support incident as if it was a broken arm, right? It gets a first notice of loss, it gets an RMAP, they get evaluated, they get treated, and then they get follow-up and return to work because it's just another injury, just injury to your brain.
Cool. Well, thank you for that. As far as the mids end of it, I guess, or on-duty injuries, I think you guys had some more information on that, right? So I don't know if you or Gary wants to touch more on that.
So I'll say, if you get injured, report it, okay? I say the days of suck it up are over, and the reason why is there's still a lot of suck it up going on, and I understand you guys want to work, but the problem becomes these injuries that you have that don't get reported, that don't get treated, basically turn into occupational injuries in the long run. And then when you're getting your knee or shoulder replaced 30 years from now, and we look, you come to us and you say you can't work because of this surgery you're going to get, and we look to see if it was covered, it was never reported, and you're on your own for it, and so it becomes an issue with coverage. Just to let people know that, there's multiple ways to report an injury. I know when guys are on overtime, you don't want to lose your overtime. I understand that. It can be reported as a record only that, hey, I tweaked something today at work. I just want it noted. And, if you wake up and 2 days later and your back is really tight, then it's documented. The way the county looks at it is if you didn't report it at work that day, it didn't happen. And so if you report it 2 days later, then you're going to be on your own sick leave if you end up being no duty because of that. Okay.
I think that point's worth repeating because I've dealt with this a couple times just as a field ops battalion chief where I've got people like, hey, this person, they said this, I don't know, it's a rule that like, if you're hurt, you have to go be seen, right? Like, that's not that's some like
true.
Old school
right.
And I don't know if some people that was just some old battalion chief's rule at something like no, you could just write it, call Corvell, get a first notice done. I'll do an RMAP,
right,
record only, and that's it. That's perfectly okay.
Yes, and So, and better yet, I would say if you're an officer, get a CareMC log on, do it online.
Yeah.
Okay, because we do have issues when you call in a report, and I'll say this now, we need to write good EMS style reports because you're writing a medical legal document for your employee, and if we're going to say we're going to take care of our employees, don't write bad reports, okay? And I'll give you two examples. One, we had one recently that said, injured eye. Okay, what does that mean? I had a report a couple years ago that said firefighter was doing hero fireman stuff, fell down on his knee and got a boo-boo, all right? And that was a first report of injury from one of our officers. So this is a medical legal document that's going to go to the Workers' Comp Commission and get this employee covered, okay? So you want to paint a narrative, like get back to riding A2 on the ambulance and write something that is like, worthy of your employee that you want to get covered, and there's not questions and denials. And,
Yeah, if we want help ourselves, right?
Right.
Do the right thing.
And, and I'm going to say, Chief Furst had mentioned about the first report of injury for a psychological incident. And we've started doing that. If the peer support team gets called out for an incident, if it rose to that level, then everyone on that scene is going to at least get a record only on that call, okay? And we want you to paint a narrative of accurately what happened there, because the people who are looking at this report to see whether they cover it or not are looking at, is this, and I've argued with Corvell that this is the same as a slip, trip, or fall, okay? It's a psychological trauma that we're experiencing that we as a department have recognized, hey, this might affect our guys, so we're going to write these reports. And we have had guys that have gone off for it. And, and we want to get early treatment for these people, okay? So you want to write something it's a very good EMS report. And we actually follow up. We look in the media. If there's media reports, we actually send news clippings to get attached to their file, okay? And I'll tell you, in the last probably year and a half, 2 years, for people going off for PTSD, the amount of time that's off now, it's not going off for PTSD, it's going off for an acute psychological injury. And the time that's gone off has gone off from previously, like 6-7 years ago, it was about a year of lost time, to now it's like under 30 days. Oh. So we're saving the department money, we're getting guys covered, we're getting early psychological intervention.
In case it's confusing, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's not that we're giving you, it's that people are healing.
Right, and they're healing.
Because we're doing
and
it
it's
the right
not
way.
it's not becoming, because what was happening before is that you got to look at these psychological calls much like cutting your arm, but then not treating it. If you don't treat your arm for 8 months, it becomes gangrene.
Right.
So these calls that are these high stress calls, if they're not treated early, they become PTSD 8 months later, and then it's really hard to come back.
Yeah.
So that's something to think about.
So for Corvell, you have 72 hours to report. And then if it's not within, you can still report it after 72 hours. They just will deny it on the jump. They'll say not covered outside of the 72-hour window. Then you have to go get a lawyer and go to the Workers' Comp Commission to get it covered.
Gotcha.
And be on your own sick leave during that time.
On your own sick leave.
And real quick to that note, just since you brought it up, and I think it's something good to know, the CareMC account was the best way for officers to get that.
Yes, please.
Yes.
The other thing that I don't know if you said is that if you call it in, then you're telling the person what happened, and they are transcribing it, but they are not transcribing it word for word.
I'm guilty. I'm a caller inner.
Right?
So
Yeah, and that's a problem because the person, let's be honest, the person who's answering the phone doesn't, they're not technical writers. And, so if you do it online, and you'll see it's faster, it becomes faster eventually once you get the hang of it.
It's just reset your password. Oh.
Yeah, it's resetting your password. You set up a reminder.
So what is the best
on your
way to
phone.
get it initially, to get that care
So
account? Because I know, I tried to do it at one point when I first got promoted, and it was
Right.
I had to email somebody, and then I got
Right.
it but could never log in. So how do
So
we do that?
Pearl Monroe. You email Pearl Monroe, and then she will set you up with an account. and then you'll get your first login. And just remember to reset your password every time it.
And is there like a step-by-step on that somewhere in case people don't remember that name watching this? Like,
Yeah.
like on quick links or something like
It
that? where you
is
can-
the general order about MCSIP. Right, there's a general order on it. That's where that's where it's referenced. I don't know the general
We'll
order.
make sure it's available to people. If
Cool. I just think that would be
It's
beneficial.
available on quick
Yeah.
links.
That would be beneficial for everyone.
Yeah,
So
it's available on links.
Yes.
sweet.
Yes.
All right. We'll get back to you on that.
Yeah,
but
and
we'll keep
let's
going.
go back to one thing about the other type of injuries. So record only, medical only. Okay, medical only is, hey, I'm good enough to work full duty, but I want to get some PT for a couple weeks. Okay, so that's an option. We can, you can get, have a covered injury that you're just getting PT or some type of intervention done, but you can still stay full duty.
Yep.
Okay, and then an indemnity claim is lost time, and that means that you are temporary total disability and you cannot work. Okay. So those are the types of injuries. Just make sure you report them so that you're covered. Okay. And then the other thing is that rolling into that is when you get injured while working. Okay. You can come to FROMS to be seen. Okay. We would prefer if you come to FROMS to be seen, and I'll have Dr. Spears talk about it in a second. But and the reason being is that if you go to the ER and you go get seen for something, we still need to have you come in for an initial injury evaluation in the next week or so. So if you live in Pennsylvania 3 hours away, we're going to have you come down to be seen, okay? So, Dr. Spears, could you talk about what you can handle?
Yep. So just think of FROMS more of like urgent care rather than an ER. If you guys have all basically EMS trained, so if it's a huge bleed, something gaping, you lost consciousness, vomiting, just go to the ER. You think you need IV fluids, you can't see, ER stuff. This is stuff you would go to a regular doc in a box that we can treat, urgent care type stuff. You got a cut, you need sutures, you have a minor fracture or a sprain, we can do some minor x-rays at FROMS. So those are the types of injuries we can do. Just stuff you would go to a quick doc in the box for, not to disparage doc in the box folks, but if it's something that you think is a major injury, go to the ER, but it's something minor, hey, like we have a lot of guys, I slipped, I think I twisted my ankle, come on in the FROMS, we can take some x-rays, or I fell on my wrist and it's really swollen, or slammed my hand in the car door, come on in, or hit my nose on the rig, come on in, we can do x-rays, I got a small cut on my head, we can do stitches. If you have a minor sinus infection, stuff like that too, we can give you some antibiotics for a couple of days. So minor urgent care type stuff we can treat at FROMS. If it's something really severe, hey, my arm's missing or I'm bleeding and I can't.
Or it's after hours.
Right?
Go to the yes, or after hours, yes. So yeah, during normal business hours, yep.
I think another clarifying thing, I don't know if this is what you're going to say, but the exposure process is different, or you might think that that's something that should go to FROMS, but if you are transporting.
Go with the source patient.
Yep.
Correct.
Go to the hospital with the source patient. Get evaluated at that hospital.
Not something you leave and go to FROMS.
Correct.
Right.
You
right.
will be at FROMS eventually, but
Yes.
go with the source patient. Two things about that. So the Concentra leadership, who I meet with pretty regularly, state explicitly that they will treat any employee that walks through the door, any employee of Montgomery County, Maryland. But so for fire rescue, so that includes volunteers, right? Because they're covered in the Concentra if they're working. So if you're injured on the job, even if you're an employee, you can come in at any time. I don't know about volunteers exactly if they're covered when they are not on duty, but they'll treat anybody who walks in the door. Think about like FROMS as a good place to take soft tissue injuries, and if you have any questions about if FROMS can handle it, call one of the people from the administration because we're well versed in what they can handle.
Yeah, I do have one quick question that came in before we get too far past the CareMC thing. The question was, it says, when we use CareMC, I'm guessing this is the online version. I've never done it. Guilty. It says the only locations to choose from are Station 3 Career and Station 3 Volunteer. Can you clarify if that matters, or maybe I'm doing something wrong? Does anybody know?
Well, every work site in Montgomery County is in there, so
Okay.
that person can reach out to me via email, and I'll help them out with it.
Okay.
But so yeah, that
Because I know when you
right.
call, they ask for your work site. It's usually
Right.
like Station 12, career volunteer, 3
Right.
career volunteer. So, okay. Yep. Email Chief Furst to finish solving your issue. Thank you for the question. All right. Moving on.
Excellent.
We got about 30 minutes left just for planning
Okay.
purposes,
All
so.
right. So one thing too about injuries, on-duty injuries, we're seeing a lot of avoidable injuries that could be avoided by like wearing hearing protection, eye protection, gloves, turnout gear.
PPE.
Yes. Yes.
If you're a medic, put the mask on. I know COVID's over with, but guys, come on, put mask up.
I was going to talk about this later, but
Send it.
right. So
Right now.
I was going to hit PPE on the closing statement. I've only been there for what, 4 months? Feels like 10 years.
Yeah, 4
Right.
months.
It's like
Well,
dog
there-
years.
Right? Yeah. So, but I am already tired of seeing people come in on the verge of tears, completely stressed out because they think that they have HIV and from a bloodborne pathogen transmission, and they were not wearing the correct PPE. It is driving me crazy. When it's in the box on the vehicle, waiting to be worn, and we just don't wear it. We've seen some unfortunate preventable injuries from people not wearing their turnout gear. That, it's not a life-changing injury for these people, but it's just not a reason why you need to be off. SCBA, wear it, use it. We have seen folks completely waste away from cancer. Like, they were healthy and robust humans, and it's heartbreaking to watch them. Dr. Spears, we're bringing up telehealth, so we see them, and because usually they don't come to the clinic, they don't come to FROMS because they're too unhealthy, and wear your SCBA, breathe air. There is no reason to breathe in the products of combustion, the cancer-causing agents. So.
And that's, I'll put it out there. We, on social media, you see a lot of videos, and I saw some videos recently, like a garden apartment where guys are going into the lobby of the garden apartment. They go up to the second or third floor landing until they hit smoke. They start coughing, and then they're putting on their SCBA. And so you're about to do really heavy work. You've already insulted your lungs by breathing in this heavy smoke. And now you're coughing on it, trying to get ready. And it's like if they just would have put it on before they went in, and then wear it during overhaul, because that stuff is still off-gassing. 256 known carcinogens off-gassing up to 8 hours after the fire. So just wear your SCBA. So.
Gary, I have to tell you, when we are notified that someone has a cancer diagnosis, because they call us because they're trying to figure out how to get it covered. Gary, I have to give him a hug. Like, that's how much he cares about the folks out there. He takes it personally. So listen to what this man says about taking care of yourselves, because I don't know how many more cancer diagnoses that he can take. It's as if his own family member has cancer.
All right. Well, yeah, definitely. To me, that's like the safety officer's version of dealing with collisions when people back up without a backer. It's like, how many times do we have to do this? Right. So just do the right thing, please.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we're on kind of like consequences of injuries. Is that the section or what else? What do you guys, wherever you're at, please pick up, because I think we're somewhere right around there.
So, yeah. So when you get injured, initially you start out on 85, and 85 is temporary admin leave that the department puts you on while basically your injury is investigated by Corvell. Okay. And
anybody who is injured at work and goes home gets put on that.
Yes. It's temporary admin. And now you could also be put on service-connected light duty. And light duty would be 24-hour light duty now for, I guess it's 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
In your station. And then after that, you go to day work. After Corvell and the county disability office investigates your claim. Then if they accept it, you see people in telestaff change to DAL, disability leave. And that means you have a covered claim. Okay.
We get a memorandum from Corbell that says they are compensating. It's a compensation memo that they have accepted the claim and they are covering total temporary disability from a date and then usually counting because the person's injured. So that's when we can switch you over to disability leave.
Right. And in that time, if it's service connected, you need to be seen at FROMS for an initial evaluation, and then you have to come for a follow-up every 30 days. Okay. Now the thing is that your doctor drives your care. Okay. So Dr. Spears will see you, but you know, and your initial, he might get you. The nice thing about coming to Dr. Spears initially too, is that the ER most times won't give you a referral for an orthopedic. So if you come into FROMS, day one of your injury, he can give you the referral for the orthopedic, and then you end up getting in with your orthopedic within days of being injured. You know, so that's something to think about. And then we need to have you come in every 30 days, okay, as a follow-up, so that the department can keep up with what's going on with you. I will tell you, and people gripe about that, but let me explain one thing. In the state of Maryland, when the average worker who has normal job gets hurt, day one of your injury, you go to 66 2/3% of your salary. In Montgomery County, we get paid 100% of our salary for 78 weeks if you choose an in-network doctor with Corvell, or 52 weeks if you choose out-of-network. 100% of your salary. So the catch to that is that the county can monitor what's going on with your care every 30 days. So it's a pretty good exchange when you look at it.
Yeah.
And we've now even gotten telehealth, so
yes,
and you don't necessarily have to come in for some of your.
Right. So in starting now, the union negotiated that when you have your follow-up every 30 days, you can opt to have a telehealth. So
If you don't want to come and see us in Captain Phillips.
right.
Cool. All right. Anything else on injuries before we go on? I think we also covered most of the physical stuff already too, but
Yeah, if you can get the employee to FROMS, so let's say someone, breaks their arm or what have you, they go to the emergency room, or they choose to go to the emergency room instead of FROMS. If you could still get them to FROMS that same day, it would make it much easier on that employee, because we'll get them in, we'll get an initial evaluation, we'll get them into the system, and then we may not need to see them for 30 days like after that. But getting them to FROMS after they're stabilized and treated, within reason, is the best thing to do for the employee. And I'm not saying if they were unconscious and woke up and take them.
Hey, guess where you're going?
Back to FROMS.
So I want to mention some unforeseen consequences of injuries, because I've seen this, is that the importance of living within your means. We have a lot of heavy hitters out there that make the Washington Post every year with their overtime rate. I've seen it before where somebody gets injured and they can't work, they're on disability, and they're immediately thrown into a financial crisis because they need that 24 or 48 hours of overtime every pay period to keep the lights on. So just be careful with how you're, working your finances. That, most people, I was looking at the numbers today. I've been in the office a little over 5 years. I've had over 1,700 injuries that I've managed. So, and that's just career folks. So there's a lot of injuries, and at some point, if I've seen guys that are off 5 or 6 months, 8 months, it really puts a financial crisis on them if they're not prepared for this. So keep that in mind.
I have another injury-related question real quick, if you got a second.
Sure.
You probably answer this. Another kind of like one of those FROMS / can I work old wives' tales, if you will. Are employees allowed to work with stitches, or is that an old myth?
Nope.
No,
They are not.
do not work with
wounds.
stitches.
Nope.
You are not. Okay, there you go. That's true.
Yep.
That's like Mythbusters.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
It holds
Yep.
water.
And the one thing, too, about the financial crisis.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt that.
No, that's okay. Did you put out the Dave Ramsey email, or did Chief Furst?
I did. So Metro Fire, through a workaround with them, they actually worked with Ramsey Financial Peace from March to March. We have free Ramsey Solutions education, budget training, anything that has Dave Ramsey, we have access to free of charge until end of next March. So there was an email that was sent out. Our light duty person, Josh Yon, went around, delivered handouts to all the stations. And so if you're in one of those situations like you're talking about, Captain Cummings, by all means take full advantage of that resource.
Or maybe before you get in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
To find out how to live.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And we have 6 cases of Dave Ramsey Solutions books from
Yeah.
the old Don't Panic Foundation as well up at FROMS. So if you are interested in something like that, by all means, come to FROMS and we can give you the tools.
Yeah.
It's up to you to follow it. But Gary is right. We see a lot of people that come in that say, well, I got to work overtime. And they come back when they're at 70%, right? Just good enough to work from their injury. And unfortunately, a handful of those people injure themselves again. And now what was a 3 or 4 week injury is now a 4 or 6 month injury.
Yeah, that could be surgery. It goes from
Right.
Yeah.
it goes from physical, what they call it, PT,
Yep.
to like now you're out for months, right?
Right.
And you have a life-changing injury.
Right. And what was hey, I'm going to be hurting for 4 weeks is now 6-8 months.
Right.
So
I had a question about light duty from Dr. Martin at FROMS that came through. Non-service connected light duty, you may be on it for a year before you get evaluated for moving on to disability retirement. And right now, light duty for service connected is 180 calendar days. But this policy is from 1990, and it is currently under revision. So this one was made on a typewriter.
Copy. All right. For injuries, we got about 20 minutes, so we want to move on to.
So, well, we can. One thing to
Yep.
with the injuries, just to button it up, is there's kind of a myth out there about the county retiring people. Like if I disclose this or whatever, I'll be retired, and that's not always the case. It's not the goal. The goal is for you to be able to do your job safely for you, your crew, and the public. And when you have an injury, like I said before, your doctor drives your care. So if we get to the point where somebody one day will reach maximum medical improvement, where they think that you won't improve anymore, you'll be placed basically in a job class, okay? And it's sedentary, light duty, medium, heavy, very heavy duty. We're in the very heavy job class. So unfortunately for us, we're at the highest, hardest level to get back to. So, and usually when somebody gets to the point of going out on disability, it's their doctor working with their PT person who has said, hey, you're only at this point, that you can't go back to full duty. And they come in, they'll talk to Dr. Spears, and Dr. Spears will look at it and say, yeah, we agree with that. So it's not a thing of, the county is out to retire people. That's not our goal. I know.
Well, our goal is to make sure that you can come to work and be healthy and fit for
Yes.
duty.
Yes.
Right. That is the goal of FROMS.
Right.
Yeah, when we started this job, and if you're at the old academy or this academy, right, we walked into the recruit class, wide-eyed, bushy-tail, and 100%. We're going to give a pound of flesh or something with this job, but we want to make sure that when you leave here and retire, that you have a great life after this, because this is just a chapter in our lives. The next chapter, when we're at home with our family, is the one that we want to make sure you guys are good for moving forward.
Yeah, because the goal is not to get to the finish line. The goal is to walk across the finish line, because you don't want to be crawling across. You got another 20 or 30 years.
Right.
And if you can't read between the lines, there's a major mental health component to all this too, the things that you're saying, right? And I can tell you're saying that because you've dealt with that side of it too. I can just
Yeah.
tell. And I know, I can imagine for myself what that would be like. So
Yeah.
Introduce
so-
Captain Phillips. This should
Yeah,
be amazing.
well,
Hey,
Captain.
thanks for coming.
I did in
Thanks
the
for showing
beginning.
up.
He just-
I
he had
showed
us
up like a
invisible.
ninja. Out of here. So, and I mean, look, Gary and Chief First took care of most of everything I was going to talk about today. with this, but the documentation is key. So a mental health traumatic event, like Captain Cummings said, is huge for documentation. So he's already gave you the stats. What we're seeing it, any injury from the ankle, toe, finger to your brain, all of it is documentation, documentation, documentation. So it starts with the good narrative, like Captain Cummings said about the first notice of loss.
So you were watching before you got here.
Oh, yeah, man, yeah.
That's good. Boost our viewership.
Yeah, so making sure we start there. We talked about getting your own primary care, but for mental health, everybody in this department is going to have a bad day. We are going to run bad calls. Firefighters on average run 4 to 5 critical events a year. The normal person runs or has 4 or 5 critical events in their lifetime. So just by the numbers, we are going to run and have bad days. So if we're telling you to have a medical provider for your heart and for your health, don't be lenient on your brain and start getting a good mental health provider. We have really great insurance. We have resources at FROMS that I can issue that are outside of the county. You use them with your insurance. Kaiser, you have to kind of go through your own little network there with Kaiser. So I recommend everybody in October to become an adult and get real insurance. But, get your own mental health provider that you can see that knows you so that they understand your history from day one here in the fire academy to the day you retire to now when you are at home stuck with your significant other staring at each other retired. So start that early, but documentation on these events that we run is huge to help protect our people and ourselves throughout our career.
Awesome, thank you. Physicals. Do you have anything else on physicals? I want to make sure we get everything in.
We'll get moving.
Go ahead.
We recently met with Concentra leadership, and we have a total number of physicals that we have to, physical slots per year. Before, we had 1,050 career physical slots, which didn't make sense because we have 1,222 people in the CBA. The union, IFF Local 1664, and the Montgomery County Volunteer Fire Rescue Association both bargained for additional slots. So now we have 1,399 for career folks and 1,800 for volunteers, which is great, but we're still playing catch up from when we didn't have, from FROMS being closed for COVID. That we keep going back to that. What I would like to drive home for the folks in the field, career and volunteer, is those slots are available every day, but if you skip your appointment, the slot's gone. Right? We can't just find someone real quick, especially on the career side. We can't just pull a fire truck up for a single physical at 14:30. Right? Come on up, get your physical done.
It's already hard enough to get everybody where they need to be.
Right? It's not possible. So we have a new system where people are receiving notifications that they're physical, and they have the ability to request a cancellation, both on the career side and the volunteer side. Please use that, and so we can backfill the spot. But the excuse of, I didn't want to send a single fire truck up with one person because they got detailed that day. Well, that spot's gone, and I have right now 102 people that are greater than 2 years since our last physical. I have 109 that are, this is just career folks. We have 109 that are greater than 15 months. The grace period for NFPA is 3 months, right? So you're supposed to get it every 12 months. They give you additional 3 months in a grace period. And we have about 83% of our folks are compliant with that, but then the other 17% are non-compliant. The one thing that we have going for us that is helping is that we have like 110 people in medically influenced duty status, and they do not get physicals. So because of that, we have a little bit of wiggle room to get extra people in, but we're still playing catch up. For volunteer physicals, I said 1,800 for the CBA, and they're doing a really great job keeping up with that. Dr. Spears, do you want to talk about what you're looking for at the physicals?
Yep. When you come in for your physical, what we'll be testing you for is basically standard physical. Most of you guys have done it for years now. You get height, weight, vision, hearing, blood pressure. Depending on your age, you will get a treadmill stress test, blood work, pulmonary function testing, and I think that is it. We would test with your blood work. We will be testing you for CBC, a BMP. Depending on your age, you also get a PSA test. We check your cholesterol. Once again, we're not your primary care doctors, but we do want to make sure that everything is stable, you're good, and you're good enough to perform your job adequately. If we find anything, we will let you know. Any abnormality, you will be getting a report from FROMS, and so we can follow up. If there's something that's critical that shows up, we will immediately contact you to let you know what your next steps will be. But it's just an annual physical. I'm sure you guys have had it all the time. So.
And how many hours do you have to fast before your blood draw?
You do not. You could come in without fasting.
So 3 hours is not required either?
Nope. Come on in. You can eat.
Okay. So, like, no fasting for 12 hours.
Yep. That's
Right.
old. Yep.
So, and if you're coming in for a PM physical, like, you don't have to fast all day.
Yeah, don't fast all day and then
That's
try to
good
get on
news, 'cause I
treadmill.
didn't know. I was just complaining about that when I had a PM physical, so it's good to know.
Yeah, we have people show up in the morning like, hey, I have a PM physical. Can I get my blood drawn now? I'm like, you can eat.
Yeah.
At least I asked
Yeah.
before I just did that.
Yeah.
Right.
And you guys still give referrals for the calcium?
Yes, we still give
Testing.
referrals for the calcium CT testing. Can also help you.
Is that for anybody, or do you have to meet certain
Nope.
criteria for that?
That's for anybody. Usually advised guys over, I think, the age of 35. But yep. And we're also going to start doing PFAS testing. That hasn't officially been rolled out yet, but we're working on that.
Yep.
So we're all about. Thanks to Captain Cummings, everybody's on board with
I
getting
think
guys
that'll
tested
fall
for
into the
cancer.
where are we going, right? So we already checked one thing off the box.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thanks.
See?
Yep.
Taking my
Jumping
stuff.
ahead.
Taking away from me.
All right. Do you want to move on to challenges, or kind of cover some of that with some of the things you just talked about? Or?
Mike Phillips. Oh, not a, who's challenging? Oh.
So, coming back to medically influenced duty status, we'll talk about workers' compensation payouts, right? Because that's a pretty big deal for us. How healthy you are and how well you treat yourself is a major factor in your workers' compensation payouts, because you go to the physician for your lawyer, and then they say they rate you by how much of the job, your occupation, has created this medical problem, right? Then you go to an independent medical evaluator for the county, not really the county, but for workers' compensation, and then they rate you. What will happen is the entirety of your life and all of your medical records will be reviewed. So, for example, this is numbers I grabbed out of the thin air, but based off of a real feedback from an IME, an independent medical evaluation. This doctor attributed 5% of a history of hypertension because a person had hypertension, right? 20% to heart problems, which I'm just saying heart problems. They had to diagnose heart problems, but I'm not going to say it on here. That was not to do with the job. 15% because of a history of severe sleep apnea. Sleep apnea, right? That's a big deal. Pretty common in the fire department. And 10% history to the history of obesity, right? So we have a fair amount of people who are well nourished. And then, so you get 5, 20, 15, and 10. That's only 50% to your occupation. So if you are, whatever the payout would have been, we'll say $100,000, but because you went and they rated you for all of the other problems that you had, you only get $50,000. More reasons. Well, first off, I hope no one gets hurt and has to go get paid out, but this is more reason for you to live a healthy lifestyle so that they can't use you against you for your final payout.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Where do you want to go now? Where are we going? Since
Right.
we only got about 5 more minutes, so
The
tell us
grant-
where we're going.
The grant for LUF?
Sure. So we put in a grant this year an AFG grant for leadership under fire, human performance. Hopefully we will win that grant. Baltimore City's already done it. FDNY follows it, and other jurisdictions across the country. So what we are finding is when we are running calls, the systems in our body, right, kick up. We get adrenaline dumps, we get higher levels of cortisol, all those types of things. When we run these calls, if we are active in the call, our body uses those fight or flight mechanisms that we have, and those levels drop. When we don't use the fight or flight mechanisms and we stand, so officers holding the hand tevy during working codes, right, or pediatric code or something, right? They're not the one down there doing CPR anymore. Firefighter Lucas is doing it. These bio markers and all stay high in our systems. So what they are finding when we come back, if you are still feeling agitated, go work out, go push heavy weights, burn that stuff out of your system. That allows us to sleep. By sleeping, when we go through phase 1 deep sleep, that is our body healing itself. Regenerative sleep gives us the hormones, HGH, everything to start improving our body. When we go through REM sleep, stage 3, when we dream, that is when our brain starts going through and cataloging and everything what we've seen, right? So our brain heals during that stage. So hopefully we get this grant, this leadership under fire, where it's going to help us learn these resilient things. So it's kind of like the push way back when, right? We didn't want the 911 call. The three of us are tired of seeing people come in, so we're trying to push for the no more injuries. So if we can build resilience in our recruits and ourselves and our leadership, trying to hopefully start dwindling some of the calls that we see, so that we can give the power back to the field and knowing what they can have and what they can do to help
Yeah,
get
that's
over
huge.
that hump.
I mean, I'm super into the human performance thing. I've done some leadership under fire stuff. So not only will it help prevent injury potentially, either mental or physical, but it'll also help operational performance. Right?
Yep.
Because if you learn how to control all that stuff, and I mean, stress-induced tachycardia, we know what that does to your decision making and your fine motor skills and everything. That's huge. That's really awesome.
And I think, Mike, the one thing you didn't mention was how it affects battalion chiefs in the buggy.
Yeah. So to go with that, talking with a chief out of Baltimore City, I'm not going to throw him under the bus here. He had a tragic event that they had to deal with, and talking with him and versus talking to the officer on the first due truck. The first due truck officer really went through and burned up all of those fight or flight mechanisms. The battalion chief was in the car and with his command board and a pencil, right? He came back. He could not remember events that happened. He had firefighters coming up telling him, "Hey, I'm sorry I yelled at you." He's like, I don't remember talking to you. He couldn't sleep. He could not turn off. His brain, his hypothalamus was still going. Once he understood what happened, and talking to some of the guys with the human performance class, he went, worked out, pushed heavy weights around, was able to finally get a couple good nights sleep, and everything shut off, and he was able to actually start remembering what happened, how he was able to, go through the process, and start coming back to normal. So for the chiefs out there, maybe you need to, during an event, look at the second chief in your car and go do burpees behind the car or something. But just keep that in your mind. When we come back from these calls from Fire 1 all the way up to Assistant Chief, you may need to go hit the gym at the firehouse and try to work this stuff out of your system so you can get that good night's sleep, so you can
A healthy
get through
way
the
to
process.
release that stuff.
Right. And alcohol is not the...
That's not
No.
Right. We all know that.
A few more things that we're doing. I know we're almost out of time. So we're searching for money for additional screenings. When we put in any request for money, we always go with like 2,500 to 3,000 tests, because we want to capture all the career folks, all the volunteer folks, all the retirees. And then, if the MCVFRA wants to also kick in people who are past volunteers, that's fine. We always do a large number to try to get everybody. We're updating policies, working with a service-connected light duty policy, non-service-connected light duty policy right now with the division chiefs, and then on to notice and opportunity. Soon we'll have a FROMS quick links with pertinent information to the people in the field. We will get a Google Voice number. Well, I don't know if we can say Google on, but we're getting a number, right, that rings all of us, the three of us, so people can just call that number, and then whoever is able to answer will answer. So because there's questions out there that only we can answer. We're working on retirement preparation. We brought back what's it called, exit physicals. We brought back exit physicals, and at that exit physical, we want to hand the folks a packet for what's going to do for the next step of their life, right? Resources for like the proud old timers. POTS. What does POTS stand for? Proud old timers, right?
Yeah.
Proud old timers. Any other ways that they can transition to the next step of their life, and then also Gary, especially, is working on stuff for non-service or for service-connected disability retirement to help people transition from being a firefighter to nothing, because those people get a phone call from us that says, hey, you're going to retire, and then they get a phone call from a person at HR that they never met before that says, hey, you're retired at 1700, and your emails get turned off, and goodbye.
Yeah.
So,
Not very good.
right.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, I think that's about all we have. We'll do a quick roundtable. You guys have anything else, Chief, beyond what we've said?
No, thank you for your time. I please send questions to us, and we would love to answer them.
Gary?
Nope. Thanks.
Dr. Spears?
Nope. Don't be afraid to come to FROMS for physicals. We'll take care of you. We don't do rectal exams anymore. We do PSAs for blood. So all you guys that always feared about the rectal exam, we don't even do those anymore. So
Yeah, that's only an initial evaluation.
right.
Yeah.
It's only special treatment. No.
Mike?
No, documentation, and call us if you have questions, because we'd rather answer the question than try to fix a mistake.
Yeah.
So
We're here for you. We're here for the people. We want to see you do well. We want to see you get better. We want to see you at 100% or as close as you can get to it. Like we're really advocates for the people who are riding the fire trucks and the ambulances, and so yeah.
Well, yeah, no, thank you guys for coming and joining us. It's a really good 40,000-foot view. As you said, I know we've done a lot of, specifics surrounding FROMS. We had that really good, cancer episode where the folks from Sylvester Cancer Institute joined us, and we've done some mental health episodes, and we've done some stuff on injury prevention. And another plug, don't forget, Dr. Kelsey's not here right now, but the injury prevention is another huge part of this, right? Just to keep you hopefully from having to go to FROMS. And I take a lot of activity requests with people requesting time as a shift to do the injury prevention work. So keep doing that. That's huge. So again, thank you for that good overview. A lot of questions hopefully that people had were answered. We got everything that was in the chat. So again, if you have any other questions, feel free to email these folks. Chief Furst can route them if you're not sure exactly who they should go to and get your questions answered. The only other thing I have in closing is the next episode we have is another Wheel in the Rig episode. That's going to be on July 16th, and that's going to be an episode surrounding the new above-ground cistern at Company 14, going over the operations with that, as well as some overviews on the new Mobile Air Unit 16. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.